welcome Danny Martinello.
What's up? You guys good? I didn't know you looked like that from the front. Tripped me out, not gonna lie. I was like, holy fuck, eh? Look at this guy. Just in time for Hogwarts to come out. You're not gonna lie, dude, you look like I should go get like coins from you before I go to school, you know? He's a Gringotts looking motherfucker, you know? But in the nice way, you know? It's good. No, it's good school. I'm but a muggle and I cannot go to the school of Hogwarts. I put a sorting hat on and it just called me a goof, you know? Oh, fuck, dude, what's up? You good or what? Sick, dope. You're looking at me like you're one of my ex-girlfriends? Don't like it. Don't like it one bit, you know? You have the face where like you got fingered in a Civic but didn't come, you know? It's good. The nice way. I like how you were like, no, but both your friends were like, well, it's more of a Corolla. But sorry, I had to get into this shit, you know? I don't know, man. I'm happy to be here. I've been traveling around a lot, so it's nice to be. I'm also from Alberta, so that's why I sound like this. I don't know. I like coming to Toronto because like I've been traveling a lot. Like that's what I'll say. Like I've been going to a lot of small towns and stuff, and I like Toronto because I figured out how you can tell what place is a small town and what isn't, and a big city is when you just jaywalk, but then the cars speed up. That's what I found out. Because here in Toronto, people will just stop for someone jaywalk. They'll be like, I don't know, Marshall, maybe he's crazy, you know? The guy's just walking around like a clicker from The Last of Us, like. Roll up the windows! Hey, man. It's crazy here. I was jaywalking in a small town. The guy's like, not in my town. They got 3 crosswalks and you better damn use them. It's madness, dude. I was jaywalking in a small town and I heard just the twang of a diesel, dude, a truck, you know? And I come from Alberta, so I kind of got excited, you know? I did. I heard the diesel just pour out and I'm like, oh yeah, keep drilling and killing, baby, you know? Like, just stared at it. But then I forgot that it was coming towards me. I'm like, oh shit, you know? And then I had to get out of the way, and I'm like, oh, damn, you know? Like, I almost got clipped and killed, dude. Far out, man. But, like, I was thinking about it post, you know? I think that's Latin for after. Right? I was thinking about it after, and I'm like, well, shit, if I was to get hit by a car and die of, like, vehicular manslaughter, at least, like, kill me by a truck, you know? Because, like, I've seen someone almost get hit by a car here in Toronto, right? Because when I first moved here, I didn't know how fast-paced this place was, right? And like, man, people don't like waiting at all around here, you know? Like, I saw it too. It was like on one of those, like, you know, when you see like 1 hand second on a crosswalk, and you're like, oh, time versus distance. I'm never gonna make it, you know? And then you just sit. I saw some guy go, fuck it, and then he just went, and I was like, no. Right? Because I saw a left turn in Fiat coming, right? And I'm like, oh no! Right? Because it missed him, you know? And like, I wanted it to hit him. You know what I mean? I just wanted it to hit him just so I could be like, I told you so! You know? Like, one of those things. But I was thinking, because like, I was laughing, where I'm like, oh man, like, if I died by a Fiat, like, what a bitch way to go. You know? Like, you couldn't be cool at all at your funeral. Your dad would be like, yeah, I know, he should have played basketball. Can't jump worth shit, you know? Like, that's what it is. You don't need keys to relocate a Fiat, dude. You don't. Like a 2-door Fiat car, you don't need keys. You just need like 6 Jaeger shots and someone saying lift from the legs, you know? That's all it is. You get right under it, you just old school fireman crab it to the corner, you know? That's what I see it is. I see moving smart cars and Fiats as just like urban cow tipping, you know? It is. You ain't got no cows like the prairies, but you sure got a little Dick Lance in a fucking Fiat, you know? Just move it and stuff. Right? Because I was thinking about it. Truck, that's a man's way to go. It says it, right? Oh, how do you get hit? You get hit by a truck. Oh, I use the truck stick. Like all that kind of stuff. That's a man's way, right? And just to really drive it home, just throw some balls on the back of the hitch for me too, you know? Because that's what I want. The last thing that goes through my head is a pair of chrome scromes to the dome. Are you kidding me? Can't get more manly than that, you know? It can't. You'd be like, front axle, rear axle, nutsack, right to the head. Now at your funeral, your dad could just pet your concave walnut head, you know? Just, yeah. Went out like a man, you know? The only way it could be more manly is if the car actually transformed, straight up teabagged me, transformed back and drove off, you know? Maybe it came back and squirted a little full synthetic on my chest, you know? But like, what can you do, dude? You know? I like traveling in this beautiful country we have, Canada, man. It's awesome. I was traveling a lot all across Canada. I even went international. I did some shows in Austin. Did some shows in Seattle, Los Angeles. I even went to France. That was pretty sweet. Thanks. Or sorry, I should say Quebec. I went to Quebec. But the shitty thing is, dude, I didn't even mean to go there. I got lost in Ottawa. That was what pissed me off the most. That's what pissed me off the most, you know? 'Cause I took a left turn, and you think if you take a left turn, you stay in the city, let alone the fucking province, you know? And it pissed me off. You ever get lost and find yourself in a foreign domestic country before, dude? Trips me out, man, because like my phone was dead. That's what happened. My phone died, right? And it's not 1984. I don't got a road map, you know, right? So I was like, oh, and I lost, and I took a left-hand turn, because of course I was thinking, whatever, I'll stay in Ottawa. And I took a left-hand turn, and I knew I was screwed because, like, street turned to rue, and I thought I was having a stroke, you know? Right? It did. It hit me. I was like, no! You know, I was checking my face to see if I looked like Forrest Whitaker on the left side, you know? It was weird. It was crazy, right? And then I saw this guy, and, like, I don't know. I like French Canadians, I will say that, but I also don't like them. You know, in a nice way, right? And I only say this because when I got lost, I remember my teacher always told me, Daniel, when in doubt, ask about, right? Which always kind of confused me during tests, because I was like, what the fuck, man? He told me to cheat, you know, right? What's going on? I'm asking about. He's like, not right now. I'm like, this is weird, right? And I say this is because I saw a Frenchman. He was walking, and he was probably, from me to the back booth, right? You can hear him. I took theater. I know how to project from my diaphragm, right? Exactly. So I see this guy, and I go, oh, hey, sir, excuse me, sir. And he keeps walking, right? And I go, at what point is God going to give me the only deaf person I've ever met? In my time of peril. You know, right? But then I remember, I'm like, oh, I'm in France. Oh, salut, monsieur, salut. Salut, bonjour, monsieur, right? And this is when he goes, and he walks to my car, and like, this guy's a piece of shit, right? I didn't say that. I go, fuck, you know, right? And then he comes to my car, and he goes, English, right? And that's what I was like, yeah, that's what I would like you to speak to me in, please, right? He goes, what? Right? And I go, I'm lost, forgive me, but how do I get back to Canada, please? And I don't know if you've ever said that to a French person in their own province, but they immediately go, so naturally, I went, back to him until we accumulated a thick layer of phlegm on my windshield, right? And he goes, why don't you know French? Right? And I go, forgive me, I've never needed to know French. I apologize, sir. Never needed to know French. I'm from Western Canada. All I needed to know when it came to French was fries and kissing. Aced both of them. And he goes, well, what about now? Huh? What about now, Mr. Western Canada? And I said, you're speaking perfectly good English to me, you know? So, why don't we mark that down for moi, monsieur? Yeah? And he goes, whoa, well, why don't you know French, huh? You should be patriotic. You are Western Canada, huh, Mr. I want to be separatist, huh? And I go, you're talking into a mirror, dude. You know what I mean? Like, not once did we want it. He goes, well, you should know French. Do you consider yourself a Canadian? Are you a Canadian? I said, no, dude, I'm loyal to the oil. Right? He was like, no, Canadian. I said, no, Oilers, right? He's like, no, Canadian. I said, Oilers, right? Till we figured that game out, right? And he goes, you should know French. After all, it is your second national language. You consider yourself a patriot, but yet you do not know French, huh? If you want to know where you have to go back to where you came from, all you have to do is take a right-hand turn up there. You cannot U-turn. Now you take a left, another left, and another left, and you'll go on your way. Right? And I'm like, again, this is the most French directions I've ever got. You know? Like, who's taking a right and 4 lefts? You could just say go past the no U-turn, and U-turn. You know? But I go back across, right? And I'm not gonna lie, man. This guy got in my psyche. He got in my psyche, you know? And I know from sports psychology, once you beat them in the mind, you beat them in the body, you know? And I'm like, this guy's beating me, you know? Because he got in my psyche. I had him in my head. Oh, why don't you know French? You should know French. Do you have a cigarette? All in my mind, man. I felt dirty. I looked at myself in the mirror. I moved the mirror away. I moved it back, though, because of road safety, you know? I didn't like it. And then I started thinking, I'm like, why don't I know French, you know? Why don't I know French? I should know French, after all, right? I go down south. I know a little bit of Spanish. Dos cervezas, por favor. Muchas gracias, mi amigo. Right? Get a little slopped up. Uno botella agua, por favor, you know? Right? I don't even know how to do this in French. Why don't I know French? And then I started thinking, I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember. Growing up, I was already failing in English, so like I didn't want to fail in French too, you know? My mom would be like, this kid's never leaving Cumin, you know? It's just brutal, dude. And other options came out on the scene, too. Other options came out. Didn't have to take French, right? It wasn't mandatory. I took different options because I started smoking pot in grade 7. Right? I was getting high and I didn't want to learn. I took foods instead. Took foods and home economic because I didn't want to come back high from lunch and my teacher would be like, hey, we're learning Je m'appelle, un, deux, trois, and like 7 other things you don't need to learn in your life. Right? Would you want that or would you rather get high at lunch and come back and be like, buddy, you're going to love today. We're making banana bread. Get it on the stove. Come on. It's banana bread, 100%, all the time. And I'm walking in with a pocket full of nuts, too. I don't care. If there's allergies, we're cooking on expert, you know? Like, it's bullshit, dude. But it's good, though. But after this, it's like, I don't know. I started learning a lot about myself, too. Like, I like saying that I'm from Alberta because I have pride in it, you know? And there was a time where, like, people didn't like you because you were from Alberta. And it was mostly just people in Ontario. You know? It's that thing that went down. You know? And I like it, but it's weird telling people that I'm from Alberta when I'm in Ontario because out of nowhere, it's like a tradesman just wants to come out and jerk me off. It's the weirdest thing. It's weird. I say, hey, man, I'm from Alberta. They hear the twang, and they go, oh, is that guy from Alberta, right? And then they go, hey, man, you from Alberta? I say, yeah. And they go, oh, sick. Fort McMurray, 6 months, did my time. You're like, what? You're like, okay, dude, I don't care, you know? But then they want to know. They go, what trade did you take, though, huh? You must be a tradesy from Alberta, yeah? All you guys are. What trade did you take? And I got to let them down. I got to go say, yeah, dude, I took theater. You know, and just to watch them go, what? Why? Why did you take theater, right? And I lean in and go, because I wanted a lay pipe, not fit it, you know? Like, that's how it was, dude. Are you kidding me? You signing up for shop class, bro? It's all burnouts and soon-to-be lesbians, you know? It is. To this, see, there you go, right there. There you go. Right? Because that's what it is, man. Because I loved theater. That's how it was. The hardest handshake I got to this day was from a girl named Brittany in grade 10. To this day. She goes, you in shop? And grabbed me like, ugh. Like, I don't know, man. Look, I'm already amputated from your handshake, you know? Took theater, man. I liked it. But I did. Never felt like I fit into theater, though, because I had a sports background. You know, I did. I played competitive soccer and I played competitive wrestling, right? That's what I did, and I brought that energy into theater because it's a different type. You know, sports are like sports, you know, and theaters is like theater. You know? Right? As I brought it in, dude, and I'd be on the wings, too, just sitting like an offensive line coach, like, hit your marks! Come on! Sam, get the fuck, hit your cue! Come on, what are you doing? Kyle, get the words out right! You know, freaking them out, you know? They're like, I can't handle this, you know? Whenever they had a good monologue, though, I'd slap them on their ass. They'd be like, ooh, Danny liked. Yeah. It's good, man. Grew up, too. A little bit. I know I'm getting older. I found out I'm getting older by the way I went home. I went to Alberta, went back home to see my pops and stuff, and like I know I'm getting older, but I'm not like old. Like I'm 32, but it's the oldest I've ever been, so like therefore, I feel like I can say that, right? Like I felt a couple eyes in here be like, you don't know what age is, right? I feel old, but I know I'm getting older in the ways that things hit me different. You know, like when I go to house parties now, I'm just checking out to see how shit's built. You know, like I'll walk up and be like, holy fuck, is that oak, dude? God damn it, shit. You built this? You built it? Oh, yeah, dude, you know? Looking at it, and they're like, yo, we got some French girls in from Montreal. I'm like, I don't like French people. But I do like those French cleats over there, you know? That's how it is, man. And like, I know I'm getting a little bit older, too, because of the conversations that I have with my parents. It's getting, like, when I went back home over this Christmas holiday, my dad's getting pretty old. He's getting up there, right? And I don't know about you guys, but like you can see it on your parents, and it kind of reevaluates the way you look at them and stuff, right? And my dad's biggest thing now is he keeps asking me, he goes, Daniel, when are you gonna have a grandchild or a child? Like, just come over here, Dad. Take your pills, buddy. Take your pills, buddy. You're losing your mind, Papa. Sit down. Tell me about the war. Tell me about the war. You know, this is what he asks. He goes, when am I going to have grandchildren? When are you going to have a kid? And I go, I don't know if I want to even have a child, you know? Not yet. At least I haven't met the right person, you know? I'm not just going to put it in, leave it in, and then turn into a check. You know what I mean? That's the way it's thing. Because you never know these days, right? Because some girls, they're the best magicians in the world. Girls they're the best magicians in the world. You know, they'll turn a human into a payday. I feel like that hit some of you pretty hard. Yo, bro, I swear to God, man, I thought I loved her, dude. I thought I loved her. Living the northern Alberta dream, eh? Yeah, I work 14 days on, 4 days off, so like it never really even was gonna last anyways, so like I don't mind it. You know, the kid's all right, it gives me something to do, but like, fuck, bro, I wish I never did that. This guy's divorced and 2 illegitimate kids. All right. He goes, and I said, Dad, I don't know if I want to have children. He goes, well, and he leans in, he goes, well, I guess the family name dies with you then. All right, my dad said that. I'm like, what is this, Game of Thrones, bro? Family name dies with you, right? Like, and I laughed in his face. He goes, what's so funny? And the mental image of my father on his deathbed appeared to me, right? I'm like, this guy's so upset. He's like, son, come here, for my breath is weak. I must ask you why you have not granted me an heir to our legacy and to our throne. For many years I knew you were the chosen son, even though you were the second born. And yet you've spit in my face, and now you will no longer be able to pass on my 3-bedroom bungalow in Edmonton, Alberta. All because you chose to be selfish, and what is life for if you do not reproduce? Now leave while I laugh. Like, dude, I don't even want to bring you to the wedding. You might turn it red, yeah? I don't know if I want to have kids, man, because you see it. You see it sometimes. I enjoy my life, you know, and I see it sometimes on people when you're walking around, right? You'll see a woman or a man being like, this is the best thing I've ever done, and I love him. And you're like, you look like you've been smoking crack for 4 days. You know, I'm not gonna lie, you'd probably have a lot more fun smoking crack for 4 days. You know, and you see it too with like adult men. They'll be pushing their kids on the stroller, right? And then they're in the sidewalk, but the stroller's halfway into the intersection. Just rocking it, looking for eye contact. Just someone to tell them, no, don't. It gets better, right? I'll fucking do it. I'll do it, you know? Like, I don't want that, right? I feel like we coddle kids a little too much. You know, I do. I feel like we do a little bit. Because I know if I have a kid, I'm going to hit it. I'll hit it. I don't give a shit. I grew up in an Italian household. I got hit so much, you know? How else am I going to pass my traumas on to the next generation? You know, I grew up in a household where this was education and this was discipline. You know, like, that's just how I learned, man. And then you don't hit your kids. You're like, some of these kids need hits, you know? Because you see them. Fuck you, Dad. I said fuck you to my dad. I get DDT'd right where I stand. Like, what? You know, it's nuts, man. It is. It's crazy because I grew up in a time where it took a village to raise an idiot. And there was a lot of villagers. You know, and how am I not going to repay it, man? And like, it's funny too because my one friend's so stressed out right now. He's about to have a child. He's so stressed out. The wife's 9 months pregnant. He's like, I don't know what I'm going to get. I'm like, you better figure it out quick, dude. It's coming. You know, like you're going to get a child. What do you mean you don't know what you're going to get? He goes, what happens if my kid's born a boy and wants to be a girl, though? And I'm like, I don't know. You'll love it. What else are you going to do? You know? Right? Like, it would suck. Don't get me wrong. Like, for me to lie to you guys, you know? If my kid was like, I'm going to be a woman now, and you're like, I can get down with that. And then he's like, and I'm a power bottom. You're like, that's where I walk out. That's where I walk out, Jane. You know? But that's the thing, though. Once you have a child, I believe your life's over for your own self-purpose. Not that it's over, but I mean your sole purpose in life is no longer selfish. It's selfless, right? You have to give everything to this child in order to grow up to be a beautiful next generation and be a successful person, right? You can't just be a waste person and just, I had a kid, whatever, live my life. Like, now your purpose has changed, and I don't know if I want to do that. Call it selfish, but I'm enjoying my life right now, you know? And I was telling this to my friend. He goes, yeah, well, what would you do, Dad? You know, if you're going to have a kid, like, what's the one thing that would bother you the most? And I was thinking about it, right? And it doesn't matter about gender identity or whatever. It's fucking, the world's crazy already. Let's throw a little bit more into it, you know? And like, and whatever, if that's what it takes for the person to be, you know, a beautiful human, then so be it, you know? Whatever, let it fucking have its best life. And then I'm looking at other things, and he's like, what if it's a murderer? I'm like, perfect, out. I can disown the child and then, like, live, you know? But then I started thinking, I'm like, the one thing that would ruin my day, though, is, like, if I had a kid, and then it just came out allergic to peanuts. Like, straight up, number one answer, it's on the board, you know? Are you kidding me? I gotta sneak to a shed to eat peanut butter in my house? Like I'm chain smoking on my wife? Where are you going, honey? Oh, I'm just going out with the boys. And then I come back, she goes, there's peanut butter on your breath. And you're like, it's not what it looks like, you know? Can't be living like that, dude. Are you kidding me, man? If my son comes out in a nature valley, kills it, die. If a nature valley's the thing that kills you, if I'm out playing in the park and a squirrel comes out and drops its delicious treat and it drops my fucking kid, I'm gonna look at it and say, I should have waited for the second generation. You know, it bothers me, man. And like, I know it's bad to say, but at the same time, I don't have fucking shit for that. You know what I mean? And a lot of people are looking at me right now like, you're a villain. And that's because your life is tainted. You know, you don't have the beautiful, delicious treats of a peanut butter. You know? And it's crazy, though, because it's like, it's fucked up in a sense, because like I even went to my buddy's elementary school because his son forgot his book bag, and I was hanging out with him. He's like, I gotta drop off my book bag to my kid. And I'm like, okay, cool, I'll roll with. And then we went, and like Has anybody been to an elementary school as an adult? You feel so powerful, not gonna lie. You do. You're walking around the place, you're like, I can kick the shit out of anybody in here. Anybody. You feel so safe. You're like pump faking the principal. You're like pussy, you know? Walking around and shit. I was even almost looking for kids named Ethan, you know? Just to get back at my childhood bully, you know? Just hanging around bike racks like, where are you, Ethan? You know? But we go to this elementary school and we checked in with the secretary, right? And she's like, oh, okay, everything's good. Before you guys go into the school, though, I just need to ask you, are you harboring any peanuts? Harboring? That's the word she said. I'm like, what are these, refugees? What do you mean, harboring peanuts? And she caught me giggle, right? And she goes, oh, you think that's funny, do you? And I'm like, what? That you said harboring peanuts? Yeah, I think that's funny, right? Like, they're not weapons of mass destruction. That's what I said. And she goes, to some people they are. Right? And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. And she goes, are you really sorry? Because it doesn't look that way. Right? And I'm like, I don't like the energy exchange we're doing right now. You know? And she goes, well, I just think it's not funny that you think it's funny that peanuts kill children. I go, no, I don't think peanuts killing children are... I don't think children dying is funny. That's how I had to rephrase it. I think a peanut killing a kid's actually kind of funny. You know? And she said, how? And I said, well, don't you think it's funny that a nut brought a kid into the world, but now a nut took it out? Needless to say, I had to wait in the car on that one. Did that, man. But it's like, I don't know, I feel like the world's like, some people clinch so much to have problems and shit. Like, you know, like they want to grab it and have problems. And I find it like, I don't know, I just find life amusing in a sense, right? Like I remember a long time, not even a long time ago, before the pandemic, our biggest issue here in Canada was gender and like a gender identity and gender washrooms and stuff. And to this day, like I don't mind it, I don't care. I think it's funny. I want to smell what equality smells like, you know? But there's always people that have issues with it, right? And I don't care about it. I think it's awesome. I think it's wicked the way that the world's going. But some people, and that's why I like it when times change and people's don't. And then you just see it collide. And the tectonic plates shift. And then they get all, right? And I saw it in a gender-neutral washroom where there's, and it's usually always middle-aged white men that have the problem, right? And I saw it. And this guy was very uncomfortable. He was in the washroom like this. He was letting all these people go. He wasn't going to the washroom. And I picked up on it. And I'm like, what's this guy doing here? You know? Because I watched him let everybody else go. I'm like, he hasn't produced cologne. He hasn't produced soap. What is he hanging around for, right? And hindsight's 20/20. I probably shouldn't have approached him the way I did. But I approached him from the rear, right? And I put my hand on his lower back. Right? And I said, hey man, what's up? And he goes, what are you doing? I go, I'm sorry you looked uncomfortable. I just wanted to, are you okay? And he goes, yes, I'm uncomfortable. I don't agree with what's going on. And I said, inside you? Or like... And he goes, no, I don't agree with why everybody's using the same washroom. And he goes, I don't understand. And I said, well, I'll give you 1 or 2 reasons why anyone comes to a washroom. There might be a third one if they need to pick me up, right? Then he goes, I just don't agree with it. I think it's crazy. Don't you think that we've shared enough? Don't you think as men we've shared half? Look, we have to share half of our shit. Now we have to share half of where we take a shit. Right? That's what he said to me. And I go, oh, this guy's divorced. Okay, I get it. Right? Everywhere I go, I got to be reminded of Shannon, right? And so I tried de-escalating the situation where I'm like, hey, sir, if anything, these ladies are going to make the washroom smell nicer with their perfume. And he goes, yeah? Well, what happens if you have a shy bladder and you want to pee but you can't because you hear women and they're showing you up? And I said, well, first of all, take your ear off the door. You won't hear them. But then I laughed and I said, show you up. Right? And the mental image of a woman showing me up came into my head. And the only way you girls can show me up in the washroom is if I'm cute in line ready to go. And then out of nowhere, you come in, boom, boom, hip check the door. Right? You got broad shoulders, thick neck, probably played rugby in high school, right? Staring around looking for the weakest neck, you know? You see that it's mine. You go up and grab me by the back of the neck, disengage me like a kitten in transport. Right? And then you throw me out of the way of the urinal, walk up to it, hike your skirt to the side, throw a thumb over it like a garden hose, and just hit the back of the porcelain. I'm talking calves raised, glutes engaged, shooting a golden arch, right? Take me to McDonald's and feed me that quarter pounder, right? Just feeding it, all while you're finishing a tall boy though, right? So you're guzzling it, you're guzzling it, you're guzzling it. You crush it on your forehead, ace it in the bin, look at me and go, get fucked, and then walk out. That's the only way. And at that point, you've earned it, girlfriend. I don't give a shit. And if I do, I'm sitting down to give it. That's what I'm doing. I'm letting my fucking knees go. I already sit down 40% of the time I piss, so might as well do it 100, you know? I also learned about myself over these last couple of years that a lot of people always think I'm on drugs. They do. They look at my eyes and they say, oh, your eyes are pretty big and you haven't really blinked for a while. You know, and I say, well, I don't feel the need to blink, though. You know, like that's why I don't feel the need to blink, because the only reason to blink is to refresh your eyes, right? And mine just stay fresh. That's how I feel about it. And plus, I'd rather like people think I'm on drugs for not blinking than blink too much and think I need drugs. Oh, you know what I mean? Because this says something's going on, right? But this says something needs to be dealt with. You know? It's fucked up, man. I don't even really do drugs. I don't really even rely. It's no lie. I don't drink. I used to drink, but now I don't drink, right? Like, I always say I'm sober, but I got talked to a purist. They said, you're not sober because you smoke marijuana and you do mushrooms and acid once a year when I feel like I need to align myself with the stars. Right? But I don't do it. And then they say, you're California sober, if anything. And I say, okay, for sure. And then I have to tell people I'm California sober. And they say, why are you California sober? I said, because I was getting Red Deer wasted, you know? Like, shit face, though, man. But the reason why I had to stop drinking is I was really good at it until I wasn't. You know, but the whole thing was after this pandemic, I was all in and put in a whirl, right? I didn't really have to know it, and I didn't have an appropriate relationship with alcohol or sex, because that was how I processed my emotions, is I'd get drunk and then find something to smash. You know, and I feel you guys pulling away from me, but I'm just being vulnerable as an artist. You know, it can't all be fucking dick jokes up here, right? But that's how it was, man. That's how I processed my problems, processed my emotions and stuff, and I had to stop, you know, right? Because we've all been there, right? This is how I knew I started to feel like a sexual Swiss cheese. That's how I felt, right? I was a whole slice of cheese, right? And then I started getting holes inside my slice, but I was trying to fill those holes by filling others' holes. Instead, I just got rats, you know? I didn't like it. And like, we've all been there too, right? Where we hook up with someone just because we're feeling shitty and we want to feel good, but it doesn't feel good, right? We've been in that situation where we're like, whatever, I'm just going to have sex with this person. You know, and then you have sex with it and you're like, should have just jerked off and had a shawarma. You know what I mean? Because at least after the shawarma, you'd still feel full inside, right? Instead, you just feel empty. You know, and it wasn't good for me, man. It wasn't good for me and shit. And like, I knew I was having a problem because this was my rock bottom moment where I knew I had to fucking change my stuff, right? It was during I was having intercourse. It was during a threesome, actually. You know, and it wasn't with two chicks. It was with my buddy Ryan and another girl. Right? And you guys are looking at me like it's weird, you know, but like I'm in tune with my sexuality. I didn't fuck my friend Ryan, you know? A girl said, hey, it's always been my dream to have two men. And I said, who am I to deny you your dreams? You know, I'm a facilitator. I ain't a hater, right? So I went and did that, but I was too intoxicated to do it. I was too intoxicated, right? So this is what I had in my system. I had 3 lines of cocaine. I had about 9 vodka Red Bulls. I had half a pill of MDMA, right? And I had 2 20-milligram Cialises coursing through my body. Yeah, see? This guy knows all about Cialis. This guy's sitting here. He's like, hell yeah, bro, I get it in my body all the time, you know? Because that's what I did. Because I was like, oh man, I'm all fucked up. Right? I'm gonna have to get that milligram of Cialis rolling through me, you know? Start hitting it like a baseball player in the 80s, out of the fucking park, you know? But instead, this is what happened, right? And I'll always say that I believe women are the best creatures on this planet because of your commitment to things. So when you commit to a bit, you stay with it, right? And this is what happened. I was softer than a noodle getting tossed on Spadina, right? Like, it was bad, dude. Like, an Indian man with a flute was not gonna raise my snake. You know? If he came in and went, doo 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 doo, my snake would still be like, right? So she's getting it from the base up, trying to get it hard like it's a Go-Gurt tube, right? So she's with this. And I'm trying to stop from having a heart attack, right? So imagine, she's like, oh, yo, me mama, give me, yo, me mama, the sun come up, right? And I'm sitting here looking like a bad joke in the 90s going, trying to stop a heart attack, right? And she goes, what's happening? I go, what do you mean what's happening? I'm with you on this, right? Like, I literally looked at my dick and my dick said, Bo, it's Sunday. I've been in the Muskoka since Tuesday, you know? It wasn't coming to work, right? And she goes, well, is someone gonna eat me out? And that's when my buddy said, I'll eat you out. And I said, yes, you know? Right? So he goes under the sheets and starts eating her out. But what he doesn't know is my thigh is my thigh, right? So when he starts to eat her out, he just rests his head on my thigh. Right? And I'm like, this is fucked up. Right? But I didn't want to make it any more weirder, so I just started petting his head. And he was like, and I went, This is the weirdest episode of The Walking Dead, I'll tell you that. Right? And then she goes, well, can someone fuck me now, right? And I go, I'm still out of the game. I pulled my hamstring in the first quarter, you know? Like, what do you mean someone? There's only one guy that can, right? And he goes, yeah, I'll fuck you, and comes up from under the sheets. And I go, not all heroes wear clothes, right? And then, so he starts doing it, right? And I'm just like fucked up, like, right? And he starts hammering her, right? And she's like, and I'm like, right? And so he starts making noise, and then I don't know what to do, right? But I played sports, so I know if you're out of the game, you can still cheer. Right? So he's feeding it to her, and then he's like, yeah, and that's when I went, yeah, right? And I got my eyes closed because I'm having a heart attack, dude, right? And I don't want to see what's in front of me, right? So he's like, yeah, and I'm like, yeah, and he's like, yeah, and then I go, yeah, bro, shit, yeah, bro, hit that for me, bro, do it for the ones who can't, bro, right? Like, I got into it, and then I felt something weird go down, and then I opened my eyes, both of them have stopped having sex completely, and have staring me in the eyes, and I just come to and I go, there's way too many bros for that. And they go, yeah, there's one too many bros. I go, I know when to leave. You guys need any hummus or anything? Or? And I walked out, but at that moment, I'm like, oh man, I gotta clean my act up and shit. You know, had to, and I went full sober. After that, I went cold turkey. Stopped everything, stopped having sex. I did, because I was like, I had an unhealthy relationship with it. So I'm like, I'm not gonna have sex with that. And plus I was learning how to become sober, right? And it was hard for me to like identify with women because I'd be like, oh, do you wanna hang out? And they'd be like, yeah. And then they would drink a bunch. And we'd go out and have drinks, but they would have drinks and I would just be sitting there with a Diet Cola and a smile. And I could feel the whole room go, that guy hasn't had a drink in fucking ever, right? And I'm like, I don't like the vibe, you know? So I had to relearn how to educate myself and everything, and I stopped, right? Thank you. One person, right? So I did, right? I did that, cleaned my act up and shit. I stopped smoking weed, I stopped drinking, I stopped everything. I went around 6 months, full sober, right? And then I started thinking, I'm like, what did Jesus Christ die for, you know? That's what I was thinking. I'm like, why am I walking around? What did JC string himself on the cross for yet me not to sin? You know? I'm like, fuck it, this guy's wasted himself for me just to walk around like I'm a Mormon? Come on, man. This is crazy, dude. But I did have one thing that saved me during this time was sweets and treats, man. Sweets and treats saved my life. You know, I never liked sweets before, but when I stopped drinking, my body craved sugar, so I had these sweets, you know? Like, now I get fucked up on, like, tarts and shit. I do, right? Like, I crush a 6-pack of donuts, no problem. Still get a little crazy, finger bang a cannoli, but what can you do, right? And I remember I went to this Portuguese tart place, you know? I think Portuguese people make the best tarts. And drywall. But I'm Italian. We hire them. I can say that. You know? I like that. I went to this tart place and I got a 12-pack of tarts, right? And the lady at the till goes, oh, 12-pack of tarts, big party? I said, yeah, party for one, right? She said, all these tarts are for you? And I go, yeah. She goes, oh, that's a lot of sugar. And I said, yeah, ever since I quit drinking, I like sugar. And she goes, well, it sounds like you just replaced your addiction, if you ask me. Well, no one asked you anything. No one asked you anything. Came here for the tarts, not a therapy session, all right? Just give me the fucking tarts, right? I went in and she goes, well, I don't know. I think sugar's a bad thing. I think it's as bad as alcohol, if not worse. I said, again, no one asked you anything, you know? And how is that possible? Not once have I made a shitty choice in my life on desserts, you know? Not once have I ever done that. Well, maybe I should have got the cheesecake instead of the pecan pie, you know? But, like, not once have I ever got hot and horny and decided to jerk someone off for a tart, you know? Like, not ever have I woken up in the middle of a party with a dinner plate of icing sugar in my face and my buddy with a straw goes, you're up. And I'm like, yeah, you know? Like, not once, man. But the other thing that saved me, I'll leave you guys on this one, is marijuana. That was the thing. I started smoking weed again because I was walking around. I'm like, I can't fucking not get high. You know what I mean? You'd smell it and you're like, ooh. You know, I was withdrawing from weed, dude. I swear to God, I farted and it smelled like Kush. It was crazy. I was like, damn, I need to get high. So I got high again. I started smoking weed and I forgot that it was legal. That's how high I got. I got so high like I was 14 all over again, you know? I did. I heard noises upstairs. I'm like, oh shit, my mom's home, you know? And I started cleaning things. And then I remember my mom lives in Edmonton, right? And I'm like, oh, it's a long way for a checkup, you know? But I was smoking weed on a porch. A cop walked by. And I got scared. I forgot it was legal. So high. He goes, hi, how are you? I said, very. He said, who? I said, me. He said, you. I said, yeah, I'm so high, right? And he's like, are you okay? I'm like, I don't know. Am I okay? Am I in trouble? He goes, no, weed's legal. I go, oh. Well, fucking keep it moving then, man. Like, you're going, Officer Buzzkill, you know? Right? But then he doubled back and he went, indica or sativa? And I went, what kind of Canadian heritage moment am I going through right now? You know? Forget the Battle of 1812. Just throw a Mountie in a skate park full of kids doing kickflips. Indica or sativa? They're like, hybrid, buddy! You know? It was crazy, though, man. But then I remember, I was like, oh, yeah, we don't have to hide it. You know? I remember we all used to have to hide it. You know? Well, I guess any kid that's smoking weed when they're 14 has to hide it, regardless if it's legal or not. But, like, I remember the funny things we used to do to hide it, right? And me and my buddies, this was our big, grandioso thing to hide the marijuana was... what we did was we got busted, right? We got busted because our clothes smelled like weed. And you look like you need this because you're so high right now, dude. Your eyes are redder than the flag of Japan. No? Okay, all right. I'm just looking at you and you're like, eh. It's been a long day for you, hasn't it been, Tim, right? Right? So what we used to do, we got busted in the smelling our clothes, right? Our clothes smelled like weed, and so we got busted. And I said from that day on, my clothes will never smell like weed and I'll never get busted again. So my idea was, well, if you smoke weed in your clothes, then your clothes should smell like weed. But if you don't smoke weed in your clothes, then your clothes shouldn't smell like weed. Right? Exactly. I'll repeat it for you. If you smoke weed in your clothes, then your clothes should smell like weed. But if you don't smoke weed in your clothes, then your clothes shouldn't smell like weed. You get it now? Yeah. I don't think you ever will. Right? So what me and my buddies used to do is before when we get high, we'd go to my friend Cordell's house at lunch. We'd take off our clothes. We'd leave our clothes inside, and then we'd go to the garage not in our clothes, and then smoke weed in our underwear. Right? Now you get it? Visual learner. Right? That's what we did. So we got high in our underwear in the garage. 14-year-olds, 3 of us, just getting high in our ginch at lunch, loving it, having a blast, wondering who has the smallest panos, you know? Just giggling as kids always do. We did this for weeks. We never got busted until one day we were all smoking weed in the garage, right? We're at Cordell's house getting high in the garage, laughing, having a good time, saying we're going to get boxers soon, you know? Just getting high, right? And then all of a sudden we heard and the garage door started open, right? And in the middle of the driveway was Cordell's dad, coming home for lunch for a cold cut sandwich and a beer, but instead seeing his son and his 3 buddies' paninis in the middle of the driveway. Right? And he goes, "What the fuck?" And I know he said that because I watched him mouth it, right? And he's staring at me like a German shepherd trying to understand a command, being like, "I don't know what I'm looking at right now." And I'm terrified. My knees are shaking, the weed's in my mouth. I'm going, "Oh." Cordell leans in and goes, "Don't move. If you move, he will see us." I'm pretty sure he's not a T-Rex, but I'm high enough to go with this, right? And it felt like forever, but it was probably only 15 seconds. And then Cordell's dad just closed the garage door. And we never spoke of it. We never spoke of it. That was the weirdest thing until one day I said, "Cordell, did your dad ever say anything about that time?" He goes, "What, the time he caught us in the garage in our underwear getting high?" I said, "What other fucking time is there, dude?" And he goes, yeah, he said something all right. I said, "What did he say?" He goes, "Pretty sure he thought we were doing gay shit." So why? What makes you say that? And he goes, "Because the next morning," he said, "Cordell, I don't know what you guys were doing in the garage there, pal, but just remember, love is love and I love you." And you know what, Toronto, I love you guys, man. Thank you so much for coming out.